Good morning. I came across this story on my YouTube feed and I thought it was relevant. This story, what's the day today? Today's Tuesday, the 28th of October 2025. News from NBC News here that Amazon are probably looking, more likely than not, if NBC News is covering it, 30,000 corporate jobs. What does that mean? 30,000 corporate jobs. Let's actually listen to it. I'll see if this works. Let's have a look.
We're also following breaking news out of the tech world tonight that you may have heard about. Amazon set to announce massive layoffs, as many as 30,000 corporate job cuts. That according to Reuters. CNBC reporting it will be the largest cuts in the company's history. NBC's Christine Romans joins us now on set. Christine, so great to see you and talk to you. This is a huge headline, and it's sort of wild because it's one of the biggest companies in the world. And if they're cutting 30,000 people, what does that say for other companies across the country?
And they're cutting things like advertising and HR and cloud. They're cut.
So hugely interesting, right? This isn't we're cutting high-skilled work. This is let me justify that. This isn't cutting high-skilled tech jobs. This is cutting those corporate jobs, the white-collar jobs, which, as I say, HR, marketing, advertising, all of that kind of stuff. Where realistically, I mean, we've been able to do this now with artificial intelligence for about 6 months, if not more. And a company as large as Amazon, which already has processes, it doesn't really need to be doing this anymore. Now, a little bit later on, we'll listen. I think the story becomes clear why they're doing this and why they've got to this position where they're kind of looking at it and going, hey, we're going to need to get rid of this many people.
Cutting white-collar jobs, 10% of their corporate office jobs here is what these reports are. Amazon, of course, not commenting, but these are supposed to start tomorrow. These pink slips will start tomorrow. And I think it shows you that using AI for cost cutting is essentially the holy grail for these big companies. They want to use artificial intelligence to figure out how to take out layers in the office, how to make people more productive, and how to move some of this work to other functions, AI functions.
So that's really interesting, right? So layers. Any large organization, anyone who's worked in that kind of corporate will know, corporates get multi-layered very quickly. The more global you are, the more, the larger your footprint, the larger your revenue. Little areas of politics develop, little tranches of, well, I have a team of 50, I have a team of 500, and then, I can scale this globally. That generally happens. And the problem with layers is that as those layers build up, it's very hard to get rid of those layers because the layers are kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, well, that layer does this job. We don't know how to get rid of it because that's linked to that layer and that layer is linked to this layer and this work and so on and so on it goes, and it just builds and builds and builds. But actually, when you have artificial intelligence, what you can do is say, actually, what is my process, right? And this is a conversation I have a lot with people and companies, is don't be looking at your process and going, how do I bring AI into this process? Be very careful about the question you ask. And the question you ask has to be, how does the use of artificial intelligence change the way the outcome is delivered? Right? It's not even change the process, but it's go back to basics of what is this whole menagerie of processes meant to deliver at the end of the day? And get a little bit granular, right? I always say get granular. Not too granular, but you're not saying, well, our outcome is to make profit. No, that's a little bit too high level. You have to get down to it and go, okay, so what is a function of HR? What is a function of marketing? What is a function of advertising? What is a function of this? And if you start looking at it there and start doing the analysis of, okay, how do I today, with the power of artificial intelligence, go from my inputs, my raw materials, whatever that may be, to the output I'm looking for. And in our discipline of information work, which a lot of these disciplines are, that's actually quite a challenging thing to do unless you know what AI really does for you. And that's one of the things that I find is there's not a great deal of fluency in AI. I talk to a lot of big companies, a lot of serious global companies. There's not a lot of fluency, if I'm honest with you. Everyone understands a little bit, like everyone's really excited about LangChain being a version 1 or, DSpy or whatever, and, or, hey, Copilot's great, I'm going to go with GitLab Duo. I'm picking on GitLab there. They're a great company. Or GitHub Copilot or whatever. But they're not very fluent in artificial intelligence. What can it do for my business? That's because everyone's still at level 1 of like, it's a tool, therefore I've got this amazing new tool. And I keep saying this, artificial intelligence is not a tool. It is an experience. It's a fundamental shift of how you're going to think about your business. Companies like Amazon are ahead of the game. Microsoft, Google. These people are ahead of the game because they're helping build that new reality, right? If you look at NVIDIA, for example, every NVIDIA engineer is AI accelerated, right? There isn't a high technology company at the leading edge of things which isn't AI accelerated today. If you guys know what macro hard is from Elon Musk, when that turns up next year, when that delivers the product at the around about end of next year, I think it's slated to, that is 30,000 isn't going to be a big number. So yes, it's a Tuesday morning. I saw this on my feed and I was like, hey, it's maybe I need to make a comment about this. It is really important that regardless of which discipline you're in, what your job is, you've got to become AI fluent, right? I said this the other day to a colleague, actually a bunch of colleagues on a Friday call that I do. When I was, going for my first jobs, right? I'm nearly 50 now, so you can see how long ago that was. One of the requirements was being literate in Microsoft Office. You had to know how to use Word and Excel and pivot tables and formulas, right? You're not going to need that, right? My daughter is 15. When she goes for her first job, they'll be looking to see if she's AI fluent. Is she able to be fluent in how generative AI, whatever AI it is, whatever interfaces exist, and those will be like stonkingly different. The difference between Zune and iPod, basically, is what there will be. The difference between BlackBerry and iPhone. Is what she'll experience when she goes to her first job, and it will be fluency, because businesses will have become AI fluent in their processes, in what they do, in how they do it, and they have to be. There's no option. I want to be really clear about that. There's no option. There's no choice about this. There's no, we can sort of slow down and we don't have to. No, you do. Right? Because the advantage that artificial intelligence gives any business that becomes native is huge. It is transformative to the point it will take a market. Right? It will take market share hand over fist. Right? I work in financial services. And honestly, it's a little bit scary, I think, for everybody, in terms of the enterprises, about how fast this is coming. Some are trying to slow it down, believing that adoption will drive rate. And with $1.5 trillion invested this year alone, that'll probably double. With national economies linked to, and stock prices globally, indices linked to the growing twin waves of capability and capacity, right? So there's capability and capacity. It's not really a bubble. What we've now got is twin waves, right? And it's about amplitude of those waves and how they have to interact. And that's where the problem is you want to make sure that the harmonic stays harmonious so that the two waves don't cancel each other out. So there's not going to be a choice for businesses. That means that they're going to be hiring, when they do hire, the people who are really, really, really fluent in artificial intelligence. Where does this end? Do we think there's a, a point where AI doesn't need humans in order to run a business? Well, that's macro hard, right? When that delivers, that'll prove it. So that will be an interesting. That'll be an interesting moment for global economies as everyone scratches their head, and hopefully people are scratching their head a bit earlier, even today, going, well, okay, what is post-labor economics, right? How does this work when, yeah, it's great. I've got a bigger margin because I'm using artificial intelligence, etc., and it's like, great. No one's got any money to buy your stuff, folk. So what's actually going to happen then? I don't know. I'm just asking questions at that point. I don't have any answers. That requires global cooperation at a scale which, to be fair, like we haven't managed so far, right? But yeah. So look, 10 minutes of me nattering on. Interesting. Very interested to see what that actually turns out to be. When did that come out? So interesting. Cutting costs except the CEO pay. Yeah, guys, welcome to capitalism and how economics works, right? And let's be clear, the whole point of Elon Musk's macro hard is, hey, you don't actually need a CEO either, right? So what is a company in the future? What is the company? Who are shareholders, right? Does that even make sense? Right before the holders? Yeah. They are. It isn't the right time to do it if you're it is right before the holidays. It's this is a bit, I think, naive. I'll stick to my boring company with no layoffs. I promise you that it's coming for everybody, including me. It's coming. And it's not like, a decade down the line, 5 years down the line. No. It's coming within sort of 18 months. Boycott Amazon. Yeah, people have been trying to do that forever, but apparently it turns out that we as a society in the West are just hooked. It's not just the West, it's everywhere, right? Like it's like everyone Jones for, Jones for the latest kit or the thing that they can get today, right? Do you remember a time when we had to go to the shop, so you had to make an effort? It was an investment, so you're really careful about where you spent your money. Yeah, that. It's it's interesting, right? So this is what I mean about understanding where the new economy is going to be built and how that economy is going to be functioning, right? And we're going to see it in within 2 years. We have to, because this is the tip of a very large iceberg that we are rapidly running into. Anyway, it is the morning. It is pretty early here in the UK. I mean, it's 8 o'clock. It's not that early. But I hope you enjoyed this. Reach out, make some comments. But I'll be tracking this a lot. I have another video I want to do around the kind of circular economy that's built around AI, and try and explain a bit more about the waves that I'm talking about in terms of capacity and capability. Why I don't think this is a bubble. I think the bubble people are talking about is something different, and that will definitely burst because AI will burst it, but it won't burst AI, right? And I don't like saying things sure bet, but if you thought the banks were too big to fail, entire economies are too big to fail, right? And we have to move past labor-based economics. But anyway, have a good day if you can. Hopefully, you're not one of those impacted by this tomorrow. I have been laid off. It is a horrible feeling, especially at this time of year. I want to be absolutely clear. Me making videos like this is not me crowing or going, oh my God, isn't it so cool? It's me saying, guys, you have to wake up to the fact that this is happening. This is going to happen more and more frequently. And what saves you for as long as possible is your fluency in the new technology, right? That's what saves you for as long as possible. It won't save any of us in the end. And I think I think macro hard, and I keep going on, will prove it. I may be completely wrong. It may fail abysmally, and absolutely no one will ever use Gen AI again. I don't think so. But you never know. You absolutely no. You never know. There might be some hard and fast hit that comes. At that point, all bets are off, and yes, things will collapse, and good luck with trying to recover over $1.5 trillion by then, right? That's gonna hit the world's economies pretty big time, and that will cause even more layoffs and more failure, right? So yeah, it's very much a kind of me sounding a warning rather than gloating or crowing, and I'm in AI, I love it, but I understand just how badly it will affect human beings. I think the biggest thing that I worry is that the governments that right across the world, governments are not prepared for this. They are not paying attention. I will say that, for example, all governments are slow to do anything, but if you, I'm in the UK, just looking at the approach that the British government is taking, it's laughable. It's about 2 years out of date still. I almost think the problem is that if you, for example, if you ever go to look at government jobs, right, the people they hire to make these reports, to build this thinking, these aren't people who are going to end up in public sector. Private sector workers are not going to take this kind of salary, right? It's as simple as that. Sorry to say it, but it is. I've seen some ridiculous policies being tried to put together in my time, but the AI policies are truly staggering in their complete incomprehension of artificial intelligence, about the impact of the economy, and I think sometimes it's because the people who are making those decisions and thinking those things through are too stuck in, well, this is how the world's always worked, and this is a pattern it always follows. So the pattern's changed. And if you're not listening to people, and I'm not saying that everyone should listen to me, no, what I'm saying is there are lots of people out there, lots of eminent people out there trying to sound an alarm, saying you can't stop it, you need to understand how to transform your people into being able to adapt and thrive in it, and that's just not happening, right? So we'll see where that goes. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I will see you later.